Hello friends, good afternoon. Hope you are having a nice day. Welcome to the Hindu News Analysis. Today is 25th May 2018. Myself, Saga B. Ashwath. I'm a tutor at Shiksha IAS Academy, Faculty for Psychology, Indian Economy and Ethics. As usual, to start off with, we have a quote from Gautam Buddha. Be patient, everything comes to you in the right moment. So patience is a great virtue, isn't it? So even if you have to persevere in your endeavors, right, you have to be patient. So if you do not have patience, probably you'll be walking the wrong way around, and probably you'll not be able to reach the goals you set for yourself. So patience is the greatest of virtues, if you ask, the best of minds, right? On that note, we'll be starting the analysis. What do we have today? Tamil Nadu CM says Sterlite will be shut, power supply cut. So there was a spate of protests going on, and several people have been killed due to the action of the police against the protesters. And this Sterlite Copper, this is a Vedanta Group company in Thoothukudi, and the problem with the Sterlite Copper was that it was causing environmental damage, and the people were not happy with it. And the Tamil Nadu Pollution Control Board has ordered the closure now with immediate effect, and it has disconnected the electricity supply to the plant, right? Let's see how things go on in the future, right? Trump calls off. The second topic for the day is Trump calls off summit with Kim. The whole world was hopeful that the two leaders, that is Mr. Trump and Kim Jong-un, would meet in Singapore on June 12th, right? And there would be an end to the diatribe which was going on between the two leaders over Twitter and elsewhere. So with a hope that the meet would go on, and also things would work its way, the North Korean leader had released some of the prisoners of US in a gesture towards US, in a friendly gesture towards US. However, now the president of the US has cancelled the meet, saying that the remarks made by Mr. Kim Jong-un in the latest are quite hostile in nature, right? And Trump says that the time is rather inappropriate, right, to meet you. That is to say, Trump is putting down his foot and saying that until and unless you give up these talks of expression which have too much anger in them and hostility displayed in them, probably I'll not be ready to meet you, right? But this was an important thing which had to happen. Why? Because North Korea has openly threatened countries to go on and use the nuclear weapons. So denuclearization of such a rogue country was very much essential, and this meet would have been the starting point, but it has not taken off, right? So he also says the world lost an opportunity. However, it is no one else to be blamed. It is Mr. Trump who needs to be blamed for not going ahead and meeting the North Korean leader, right? So it is not something which is completely wrong from Kim Jong-un's side, right? Next, top officials for Kashmir talks. So this is about Mr. Rajnath Singh, the Home Minister, Union Home Minister, having called several officials of top intelligence and state government for a 2-day national security strategy conference. Right, it was organized by Intelligence Bureau in Delhi, and most of the personnel or the officials who had attended the meet were of the opinion that it is important for the union government to consider bringing in the Hurriyat leaders or the separatist leaders and Pakistan to the on the board so as to resolve the issues of security in Kashmir area. Right, there have been insurgencies, there have been firefighting, there have been exchange of fire between the two countries, and the separatists siding on the Pakistan militancy. These are all the problems which have adorned this area, that is the Kashmir Valley. So to resolve this problem, you have to bring in all the stakeholders on board. So far, what India used to do, Indian governments have generally kept Hurriyat aside, the separatist leaders aside, when it comes to finding the solution. So most of the officials now say that it is time to bring them on board, right, and discuss the issues without starting a dialogue amongst all the stakeholders. I think solutions would not be possible for this particular area. That's what most of the officials have said, right? So this is on a funny note. You have a fitness contest turning into a fuel challenge, right? So Virat Kohli had given a fitness challenge, and Narendra Modi had accepted it. On the other hand, you had the opposition leader Rahul Gandhi saying that instead of a fitness challenge, you have another challenge, that is the fuel price challenge, and let's see if you can come up with a strategy to solve this fuel challenge as well. Can you accept this challenge? That's what Mr. Rahul Gandhi asked on Twitter. Going ahead, so you don't have much on that page, not even on this one. Nipah virus claims one more life, right? And the Union Health Ministry has said that it is not a major outbreak. It is limited to one particular state as of now. However, Mangalore also has said that there might be a case or two in Mangaluru, that is in Karnataka as well, right? So as of now, it is not a major outbreak, right, according to the health ministry. So we have talked about the Nipah virus, how it spreads, right, what are the symptoms, and how lethal it is, right? And then in page 6, you do not have much to go about. And here, what you need to do here is Mashobra's mutualism, the message of nature. Mr. Ramnath Kovind, the President of India, has penned down something related to a place called Mashobra, right? It's a wildlife sanctuary which is near Shimla, right? And what he says in his open letter is that this particular place expresses what is called as mutualism, where the environment gives ample examples where the two beings are helping each other out to sustain their lives. And what he says is that there are several challenges India faces, and we have a lot to learn from nature. And Mashobra is one place where you can see one being helping the other and finding sustainable solutions. And India faces a lot of problems, and it is time we replicate the solutions which we get from the nature. So nature gives us a lot of things, and we are supposed to give something back to the nature, right? So this sanctuary is located just away from the noise of city, but it is very close to the city, provides a lot of ecosystem services to the city. So it's a major water source for Shimla as well, right? So I would suggest you to mark this particular wildlife sanctuary where it is located, and if there is a lake or a river close by. So this has to be done. Why? Because Mr. Ramnath Kovind has written something about it. Okay. Next, Clean Air India initiative launched. So the Dutch Prime Minister, who was on a visit to India, has launched the Clean Air India initiative, and the campaign aims to curb the air pollution in the cities by promoting partnership between the Indian startups and Dutch companies, and it aims to build a network of entrepreneurs who work on the business solutions for cleaner air. So it is a collaborative project between Get in the Ring, a platform. This is a platform for startups, the government of Netherlands, Startup India, and Indus Forum. Indus Forum is an online platform for Indian and Dutch businesses, right? So this is the Clean Air India initiative. So actually, the sustainable businesses present an opportunity to do some social good, as they represent not-for-profit. They represent a for-profit orientation in the right framework. So they advance UN Sustainable Development Goals in a smartly profitable way, right? So that's what the Dutch Minister for Foreign Trade and Development Cooperation has said. A case in point here is that of stubble burning, which has caused a lot of problems in and around the national capital region, right? So air quality management becomes air quality monitoring, becomes rather important. So under this situation of air pollution in Delhi, the Dutch project, right, the Indus Impact projects aim to halt this hazardous burning of stubble, and instead build business partnerships so as to use this paddy straw as a feeding stock to make material that would find use in construction purposes and packaging purposes. This is a technology and expertise which the Dutch companies are keen to market in India. They have this interest of marketing this use of paddy straw for packaging material and construction material, right? Nothing else on that page. In page 8, the Russian right, PM Modi has met the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and this shows the sign of recalibration in India's foreign policy, right? So this was again informal summit, just like one at Wuhan between the Prime Minister of India and Chinese Premier Xi Jinping. So the importance of this summit is something quite different, so as to speak. Why? Because India and Russia for a long have been great partners, right? Even when US was not in the good books of India, Russia was the closest friend for India. So Mr. Modi's visit of late, the recent visit was premised on a number of new realities facing India. The first reality is that India depends on Russian military hardware, and there are a lot of orders in the pipeline. India needed to get or needed to give this assurance to Russia that there will be no compromise on that part at any cost. Why? Why it has to reassure? It's because the trade between India and the Russia can be jeopardized because of the new U.S. law that is countering America's adversaries through Sanctions Act. So this would entail that India cannot trade with Russia, as Russia would invariably be put on the enemy list of US. So this would make it impossible, or so as to say difficult, for India to have these buyer-seller relationship with Russia, right? So India had to reassure on that part. Secondly, recent Russia's military exercises and helicopter sales to Pakistan is something which irks India, right? So apart from this, Russia is also meeting Afghan Taliban, right? This is viewed with deep concern by India. So on this front, India seeks assurances from Russia that it would not ever put India's national security at jeopardy. Thirdly, a new push is being given to strengthen the ties, given that there is global instability. We have Mr. Donald Trump, who does not stick to his words for the most part, and India should be careful when it when it treads the path. Why? Because you cannot act. Foreign policy decisions cannot be taken on the basis of inconsistent, leadership and its promises like that of Donald Trump. So India appears to have decided that it cannot any longer depend on the consistency in the US foreign policy. So the consistency is only inconsistency when it comes to US foreign policy. As a result of all this, Modi's foreign policy, from its perceived Western tilt, where India was leaning towards Europe and US more, seems to be aligning again with India's interests, right? So it is not tilting either to the left or to the right, rather it is thinking in terms of national interest now. Okay. Going further, the editorial also speaks of all these shifts are rather comprehensive, right? So you're making a shift towards the west or towards the east. So such shifts in foreign policy are comprehensive in nature, and they are big. So they have to be accompanied by such a tilt or such a move in foreign policy. Ideology has to be accompanied by greater transparency, right? So India is changing its postures when it comes to world powers. So there has to be some transparency when there is a change of course. The secrecy surrounding, Modi's visits and his informal meets is rather intriguing, right? And given that there will be at least two more meets between the Prime Minister and the President and the Premier of Russia and China respectively in the coming months at SCO, Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Qingdao, and the BRICS Summit in Johannesburg, it's important that the rest of the political spectrum in India knows how the government is going about all the relationship with the major powers, right? So that's about this particular article. So you have a lead, the transatlantic variance. This is about the data protection and privacy. I would ask you to just go through it and note down a point or two about it. India is yet to draft such a law. It has to borrow from the best of practices. So what this article does is that you have a practice or a law in the US, and you have a law which is being framed in Europe for the data protection. The US law is rather liberal when it comes to sharing of data with the government. So the data protection ensured by US is far lesser as compared to the new European law. However, the European law too has some loopholes. So what we can do is synthesize both of these and get a better doctrine out of it and make it our own, right? That's what this entire lead talks about. It would be better for us to comment upon it once India also comes up with such a law, right? So it is in works in India as well. So for that reason, we'll skip this part as of now. Why? Because it mostly speaks of the US law and the European law, right? This is divided by the Brexit debate. This is something which is completely related to Britain leaving European Union. And it's mostly about the elections and the political hierarchy which is going on in UK, so which is not required for us. Next is seller beware. This is a article, this is an editorial piece about the proposed change in the bankruptcy code. So what is this all about? So far, the home buyers, right, who will have paid the money to the real estate developers, right, and if they are not able to get the homes at the right time, or for that matter, if the developer defaults, how will the buyer be how will the buyer be treated by the insolvency and bankruptcy code? So if you are winding up a business, that is the developers, real estate developers, if they are winding up the business because of their insolvency problems, it is important that the home buyers who have paid the money in the expectation of a return only in the form of a home be treated as creditors to the real estate company. So traditional creditors are your banks and financial institutions. However, when it comes to the home buyers, they are not actual creditors. They are not expecting anything in excess of what they are giving, whereas the financial creditors, traditional financial creditors, do seek excess returns. Given that the home buyers do not expect a lot of returns, or so as to say, they just expect the goods, their interests have to be placed on and above the financial creditors itself, right? So that's what this article argues about. So the IBC, right? IBC has the proposed changes to the IBC say that even the home buyers ought to be treated as creditors, and their fair share of money have to go back to them in case of insolvency of your real estate developers. However, the problem is that the change is proposed. The problem is that whether the IBC will place the home buyers above the traditional creditors or below them. If you're placing home buyers above the financial creditors, it would be really great. Why? Because the home buyers will get the will get their investment into the homes first, and only then what is left of will be given to the financial creditors. So until now, the home buyers had to knock the doors of the courts to uphold their rights, while other stakeholders benefited significantly at their cost. The travels of the several home buyers in the JP insolvency case, in which the Supreme Court had to intervene, had favored the home buyers, right? The amendment, if it goes as we talked about, could reduce the inconsistencies between the IBC and the Real Estate Regulation Act. So the goal of RERA was to protect the rights of buyers by ensuring that they are delivered homes within time and they have to be content with a relatively low status amongst various stakeholders in a bankruptcy proceeding. In fact, the buyers have been treated as unsecured creditors when it comes to the RERA. Now that the government is thinking of amendment to IBC, it is only right to bring changes to the RERA as well, and make both the laws work in tandem and synchronously, right? So that is what this article speaks about. The op-ed page, you do not have much to go about. It's about politics. And then you have Sheikh Hasina to meet Modi today. So we'll have to wait and see what the outcome of this meet will be. Most importantly, Sheikh Hasina government, which is of sorts very close to India, right, expects India to deliver on what is called as the Teesta Agreement, Teesta River Water Sharing Agreement. So let's see how things go, and we'll talk about it tomorrow. And then Modi will be visiting Indonesia and Singapore. Again, what will be the outcome? We'll look at it tomorrow. As we talked about from the first page, world lost an opportunity. It is not the world which lost the opportunity. Actually, Trump missed an opportunity to make a mark. So Trump has backtracked on denuclearization efforts in Iran, and now he has scuttled the denuclearization, which could have possibly happened if the meet did go ahead. Here, MH17 missile owned by Russia. So the BUK Telar missile came from missile brigade, anti-aircraft missile brigade based in Kursk in Russia. That's what the investigators have said. So what is this all about? The flight MH17 Boeing 777 Malaysian Airlines flight, which was flying over East Ukraine in 2014, had been bombed and brought down, which killed several hundreds, that is 290 passengers were killed, and most of them were Dutch. And the aircraft was en route Kuala Lumpur from Amsterdam. So the aircraft was gunned down, and now the investigators are saying that the missile did come from the Russian territory, but Russia denies it, and it says that it has come from the Ukraine itself, right? So you just have to know what is this MH17 flight, BUKTLAR, the Telar missile from the Kursk, Russia. So it belongs to Russia, right? So that's all you need to know about that. So Iran lays out nuclear deal red lines for Europeans. So what is this about? Now that US has withdrawn from the plan comprehensive plan to end the nuclear abilities of Iran, and Iran had accepted what the P5+1 countries had asked it to do, to go ahead with the denuclearization plan and opening its facilities for inspections by IAEA. Now things have changed. US has withdrawn from the entire agreement. What Iran is saying that European countries and other signatories to the agreement must uphold the deal, right? That's what it is asking. Windfall oil tax on ONGC in the opening to soften fuel prices. So what is this about? The prices of petrol and diesel have gone up by leaps and bounds, right, in the recent past. So given this, the government has made a decision, right, or as to say, is thinking of making a decision whereby it will levy a windfall tax. It will levy a huge tax on oil producers like ONGC. This would be a permanent solution, right? That's what the government thinks for moderating the prices, retail prices of petrol and diesel. So the tax would be in the form of a cess, which will kick in as soon as the prices of crude oil goes beyond $70 in the international market. So under this scheme, the oil producers in India, like the ONGC, will be getting paid international rates by the refineries in India. But now, as soon as they breach the $70 mark, right, they are not supposed to be paid $71, $72. They will be paid just $70. Rest of the amount will be collected as cess, and it will be used to offset the higher prices of petrol, right? Petrol and diesel, right? So that's about it for today, I guess. Yeah, that's about it for today, and hope you have a nice day. Thank you for watching. Thank you.